Indeed, we do roll on with the YouTube roundtable, and I've got some more great guests. We're going to talk a lot of Final Four, but there's even some news about Deshaun Watson that we want to cover, and also the start of the Major League Baseball season as well. So we attempt, at least anyway, on Three Dog Thursday to try to cover as many things as possible. Again, if you're
The
only
listeners will
hearing
decide if we're great guests, TJ.
hold on before the intro.
All
He was
right.
already firing out of the starting block. Tomm Looney, my Fox Sports Radio brother from another mother, he'll be here momentarily. Let me remind everybody, if you're only hearing us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, come find the YouTube Roundtable. We are on Three Dog Thursdays, YouTube Roundtable. Search Three Dog Thursday. You will find us. That first voice is Tomm Looney of Fox Sports Radio fame.
I drink a lot of coffee. Sorry, TJ.
No problem. Also, KABC Television, the JT and Looney podcast, many other endeavors. How are things on the left coast in Hollywood, Mr. Looney? Good to have you.
Hollywood, California, shaping values for generations to come, JT. It's just a beautiful place to live, to be, and almost as beautiful as being here on your nickel and dime little YouTube show, too. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yes, we do nickel and dime it away. And I noticed that Looney does have 2 tickets to the gun show if everybody wants to come check him out on the video roundtable.
Well, you warned me while we were texting I would only be seen from the neck up, so then I had to fix the lighting and the camera and spend an extra 10 minutes. It is Hollywood.
Because I didn't want you in the suit coat, the tie, and the Speedo, which you have been known to do. Enough of you. John Harris. John Harris, a man that I'm told can bench 375 if need be, from the Houston Texans radio broadcast, HoustonTexans.com. John Harris, great to have you here on the roundtable. How are you, my friend?
Well, I'm doing pretty well. I have not been to the gun show in a very, very long time, and having to follow Tomm Looney is going to be a very difficult process. And you mentioned the word Houston. Sports-wise, it's been pretty tough around here the last, I don't know how many ever months, but hopefully we got some news with the Cougars. That was kind of nice to see them get in the Final Four, so I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit. But, yeah, it's been kind of tough, so hopefully we're going in the right direction.
I love it. All right, so since he brought up the NCAA tournament, let's begin with what is freshest right now. And there it is, Thomas Looney. We're seeing it on the YouTube screen for the roundtable. UCLA in the Final Four for the first time since 2008. At the time we're taping, they've just knocked off Michigan after beating Alabama. So they beat a 2 seed and then a 1 seed. Thomas Looney, how and why are the Bruins still playing basketball in the final weekend of the season?
And that's the fun question, because they lost their last four regular season games. Then they end up going into the play-in game, which we're not allowed to call the play-in game. They keep changing the name of the play-in game, and now I guess it's the first four. And but it's incredible too, and one of their best players, Chris Smith, got hurt, and he's not even playing. Another guy, a junior, he's 7 feet tall, and Hill is out for personal reasons. So it's just a real fun story, and taking a look at, and their coach is somebody, a Cronin, that nobody, everyone complained about when they hired him and said, oh no, he was like Pete Carroll, that same thing. Everyone complained when they hired Pete Carroll and said, who's this retread? And now, if you can kind of compare him to Ben Holland, and the way Ben Holland would scream at the players, and okay, he's nothing like Ben Holland, except that he screams at the players, because Ben Holland used to go into the press conference and then talk about how awful they were. But Cronin's got their back. He goes into the press conference and talks about how much he loves them and has their back when he's speaking in public into a microphone, and I think they love that. So it's really been a fun team to watch. And LA's been during this, 2020, 2021 has been, newsflash, has been pretty tough. And so with the Dodgers and the Lakers and now UCLA and USC, it's been a fun 365 days in La La Land watching these LA teams.
Yeah, at least the sports teams. And again, USC ran into Gonzaga. UCLA gets them on Saturday. We'll see how they do with that.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. Gonzaga has only won 28 games in a row by double figures, so that's something else. But it's not impossible. They're flawless.
It's unbelievable.
Right,
and they missed 10 layups.
Well, yeah, and they let USC back in the game after being up by 30, so it makes everybody think that they might be mortal. But in any event, John Harris, let's switch to the other side of the bracket where Houston will play Baylor. It is a total flashback to the old Southwest Conference or the Southwest Conference. Let's share the screen, shall we, once again here and take a look. And there they are. The Houston Cougars are back in the Final Four for the first time since Phi Slamma Jamma, John Harris. Are they going nuts? I mean, I realize the whole tournament's been in Indianapolis. They haven't been coming back and forth to the campus. They're in a bubble. But how nuts are they going in Houston to have the Cougs in the Final Four this weekend, sir?
Boy, I wish they would have come back to campus, because I think there would have been a great reception for them. And like I said earlier, the city of Houston is kind of gone through it. You know, the James Harden situation, wanting to get out from the Rockets. And then obviously, even before all the legal situation happened for Deshaun wanted out of Houston. And so I think we were all looking for some positive angle, and the Astros don't start until Thursday night. So we wanted or needed something positive. And meanwhile, even though really nobody in Houston for the most part talks college basketball until about February, you look up and go, hey, everybody, this Houston Cougar basketball team's pretty darn good. And if you watch them, I think you'll respect what you see from them, in that they lock teams down. They've got a defensive guru in Dejan Giroux, who is just phenomenal. And he played in a game against Rutgers with a hip pointer. And having dealt with that before many eons ago, that's as painful a thing to deal with. And he fought his way through the Rutgers game, making some big plays down the stretch. They win that game somehow. And then that defense just really took over at times. They don't score the ball very well. They've got a couple of shooters, and Grimes and Giroux can knock down a few stand-up, spot-up jumpers. Sasser can hit some threes, but they go to the offensive glass. They play defense. And Kelvin Sampson keeps his cell phone in his pocket. But he's come in and done a really nice job with this Houston program. I mean, they needed facilities. They needed everything. I mean, when Sampson first got there, he said he wouldn't even take recruits into the facility because they were so bad. Well, Tillman Fertitta ponied up money. And if you know Tillman Fertitta, Golden Nugget, Landry's, all kinds of restaurants. I mean, that's his world. And they've taken a big hit. But before that, he was sinking a lot of money into the University of Houston. Kelvin Sampson apparently was a guy that he pushed hard for. And with Kelvin Sampson there, and hopefully Danny Holgerson gets a turnaround football-wise, well, the Cougs have got a little something finally. And I said this the other day on radio, if you're 36, which is not young, I guess, you've never experienced this. I got a chance. I moved here in 84 to Houston, so I got a chance to catch the back end of Phi Slamma Jam, and it was as much fun to watch as any basketball team. I would say the second best team that I love to watch is this Gonzaga team, and Tomm hit on it. I don't know how you beat them, because when you look at a team, you go, okay, how do you beat this team? I think if you can beat the Cougars, they've got to win one way, basically, and that's play defense, offensive rebound. That's how they got to win. Gonzaga can have an off game shooting a three, but still beat you inside. They can have a rough game inside, but they can beat you shooting a three. They can play defense, get their hands in the passing lanes. They can press. They can do so much. I don't know how Gonzaga beats, or how anybody beats Gonzaga, but it might be Baylor.
Well, remember, it's kids. I think the only way it happens is if what happens to USC. You choke. You get out there. The lights are really bright. You're in a championship game, right, and you're 19. and your brain isn't fully developed, and that's what happens in college football and college sports in general. Is that's always the elephant in the room, or the asterisk. The intangible is immature brains out there might pass the ball to the wrong guy, or call a timeout, or choking, or just to be too nervous throughout the entire process. That could happen to Gonzaga, and that's the only way they're going to lose.
Only way.
Keep in mind, they haven't, as I just elaborated with the stat, they haven't played a close game in a while. They had to come from behind and beat BYU in their conference championship game, but that wasn't a close game in the final 5 minutes. What will happen if it's down to a final minute or two possessions and free throws and whatever?
And it becomes unfamiliar. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And exactly. A couple of other points about this, as we've already said on this podcast. I mean, I'll be illuminating this not only on this show, but everywhere for the next few days. Kentucky looked like an unbeaten Godzilla and got to Indianapolis in the Final Four 6 years ago. And Looney loves it when I do Howard Cosell, like I used to do on Fox Sports Radio. I remember because I was there. I was there in 2015 to watch Calipari's team beaten by Bo Ryan in Wisconsin. Goodbye, unbeaten season. Goodbye, title. And, of course, UNLV, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, who else? Help me. Anderson Hunt, Greg Anthony.
Yep.
They looked invincible, Looney and John. and Duke beat them in the Final Four and went on to win the title with Leitner and Grant Hill and Hurley, and they had great players.
And we remember the great upset with North Carolina State back in the 80s.
Yes, against
there's
Houston.
Just and there's so many.
We remember that in Houston, Tom. Thank you very much. That's well remembered in Houston. We can go down the list. I mean, 2 years ago when I'm standing on the sidelines watching us blow a 24-0 lead to the Chiefs, I'm like, I'm from Houston. Unfortunately, I've seen this before on a number of different levels for a number of different teams in our city.
And in college sports, and that's what's fun about Saturdays, college sports Saturdays during football season, is there's a Buster Douglas or two every week.
Every week
in college football, because it's teenagers.
Sure, no doubt.
They don't look like teenagers.
That's true. They're getting bigger. You look at some of those players that are out there this weekend.
Oh my God,
that they look 28. But Harris gave me so much material. I mean, he slid in the NCAA violation reference on Kelvin Sampson with the cell phone so deftly that it almost went by most people. I just wanted to acknowledge that. And can I get one more here? I've been saying this, and John, you can relate to this, and Looney, you remember those teams. What in the name of Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon is a Houston team doing making the Final Four that didn't dunk the basketball at least once in the game that they won the other night with Oregon State? Phi Slamma Jamma would dunk the ball 15 times a game. We got to get a dunk or two out of Houston, or it ain't Houston, I say.
I mean, it's interesting you say that. They don't have, I think, a starter over 6'7", which is kind of interesting. I mean, they bang the glass and they go after it and they're aggressive, but they're just not. I mean, look, those Phi Slamma Jamma teams, they were looking to embarrass people. Olajuwon, I've talked to Dream about this, and we were going to dunk on everyone. I mean, that was the philosophy. They wanted to dunk on everybody. Clyde said the same thing. And it really became kind of a competition for them who could get to the glass and put one on somebody's head. This Houston team is more about, and Kelvin Sampson, I give him a ton of credit. I made the tongue-in-cheek joke about the phone, but he's meant a lot to the city of Houston and the campus. It's been incredible, but he's got them. And this is the thing. He's got 18 to 22-year-olds believing that defense and rebounding are the way to win games. I mean, that's a minor miracle when you think about teenage kids. Hey, it's not about the three. It's not about how you can dunk on somebody, but can you lock somebody up and can you go to the glass and get rebounds?
Well, they buy it. He's put a quarter turn on the mundane and doing, kids grow up watching Steph Curry.
Of course, yes.
And they're emulating. Even 7-foot guys are taking threes, and which when we watch makes our heads spin. But there's always something more to learn about your craft, and these kids are learning the way it was done back when we watched. We can still do it now on YouTube. Is watch any black and white 1964 NBA championship video, and you see guys nobody who's over 6'7" and nobody's dunking, and that's kind of what Houston is doing.
Well, give them credit. Give them credit on that front. And again, it'll be exciting in the Final Four no matter what happens with Gonzaga, UCLA, and then the other matchup is Houston and Baylor. Looney, one more quick one. UCLA, again, is doing all of this detached in Indianapolis. Same kind of question with John. They're not coming back and forth. And I know the Dodgers season is about to start. LeBron's been hurt for the Lakers, but is UCLA registering some in La La Land in Hollywood with these upsets they've been pulling? What about it real quick?
Well, remember, it's a front-running city, and we love the stars. And UCLA has always been, well, they're like a black and white movie star. They were great in the 70s and the 60s, right? but people still have the nostalgia for when UCLA won 88 games in a row, and et cetera. So people are always just waiting for them to be great again, or the return to the Final Four. And you know how many coaches they've gone through since Wooden, trying to find the next Wooden, and that doesn't happen. Just hire a coach and stick with them. And it looks like hopefully they're going to do this now with Cronin. They're doing it with a bunch of sophomores, the youngest team in the tournament. So, and LA loves young, Hollywood loves young, so they are registering here in La La Land, definitely.
I love it. All right, so we'll turn it a little serious here just for a minute or two.
Sure.
And obviously, as I share the screen again, the controversy involving Deshaun Watson, quarterback of the Houston Texans, continues. Obviously, John is part of the Houston Texans broadcast and on HoustonTexans.com. And as I've said to him, I dealt with this with Jameis Winston and controversies and in and around the Buccaneers, and he obviously got suspended from the league. So we're not going to put John in any real difficult situation here to criticize, but clearly there are issues here here. He demanded a trade, as you mentioned, John. There are allegations. His defense lawyer, Rusty Hardin, who has previously defended Roger Clemens, among others, in high-profile cases, has gone on the offensive, has basically put out there that there are numerous masseuses who say none of this is true. He's well-behaved. All right, so I've said my piece. John, it is a controversial time with Deshaun Watson right now and trying to figure this out.
And yeah, that's the thing, TJ, and as it pertains to Jameis, once it gets to the legal aspect of things, it's especially if you're in a building like I am and employed by the Texans like I am, there's not much to say about it. In all honesty, I don't know what to say about it, because it honestly happened on a Tuesday night. I got a text at about 10:30 at night, and it just had the eyes emoji on it, and it was the original post from Tony Busby, and I read it, and I was like, wait, what is
he's
this?
The lawyer, so we're clear. He's
right.
The lawyer for the plaintiffs that are coming forward to civilly complain and sue for sexual assault.
And everything, every minute of the day since then, it's been something new and different. And Nick Caserio told myself, my partner, the voice of the Texans, Mark Vandermeer, when he did an interview with us, he just said, it's an ongoing situation. We can't comment on it. And he literally said it's changing day to day. And that really is what it is. And that's the thing. You're in the building, you should know. Like, first of all, we don't know. We don't know anything. And the thing is, even if you go before all that posted and you move outside the personal realm of all this, which is just trying to comprehend it all is like mind blowing. But before that, he had requested a trade. And so when you look at the football aspect of it, which is, the one thing that I don't know if I can even speak on that, but it's like, I don't even know, like, can you settle this case? Can you not? There's just so many questions about what's going to happen that when people talk about it, I know my friends talk about it on the radio, on all the stations here, they don't even really know what to say about it, because they're like, well, is he gonna play? Is he not? And so with all that kind of hanging over all of us, we're kind of like, what do you say? What we don't know. We have no idea. And now we've got the two lawyers on both sides, Tony Busby and Rusty Hardin. And I don't know if you want to say they're sniping at one another or not, but it's just really a situation that continues to evolve day after day. And I have no idea where this leads. None whatsoever. From a football side, Nick Caserio has he went and got a bunch of free agents and brought them to the team because the roster needed a kickstart. He brought in Tyrod Taylor, who can start. We just have no idea where this is going to go.
Looney, guys, what can you learn from it? One of the things you learn is look at how uncomfortable you make other people with your questionable behavior at times, or your alleged questionable behavior. Look how uncomfortable what happened with Deshaun Watson makes John and everyone else who inside the Houston Texans universe. Another thing you can learn from it as young professional athletes and we're talking about college athletes here, is when you are, and I've done a lot of CrossFit, a massage needs to be part of, any kinesiologist will tell you this, needs to be part of the regimen in addition to all the working out and the practice. And that is, if you're a young, heterosexual, vibrant guy like Deshaun Watson, and I'm not being cute here, get a massage by a guy. And that way, because, by the way, here's another thing, too. If you're heterosexual and young and vibrant, get it from a guy. And that way, by the way, that's usually what professional guys get. That's usually what happens anyway. So this is part of the way this can all be avoided. And massages tend to feel pretty good anyway, and your mind can wander and things can pop up. Well, that way, and at least a male will know that that's how the equipment works, and nothing will be confused.
Okay.
So there are ways. I know, right here. TJ's going to move things right along now.
I got you on that point, and I think no one can dispute that, especially with the number of females that are now coming forward, because one of the things that struck me, just from a common sense thing detached, How many different masseuses are there when so many of these guys are so protective of who's their inner circle, who gets to be around? That's another thing that needs to be sorted out in this. Again, that's for the lawyers. That's for the league. Looney, you're detached. I want to ask you this question.
Okay.
He wanted to be traded. He wanted to be gone. This almost, to me, detached, makes him untradeable to another team. Would you agree with that, Looney? Not John Harris, as we go along on the audio podcast. Would you agree, Looney? This makes him untradeable, I think, at this point to another team to take this on until it's resolved. Common sense, yes.
It's real tough. We have a Me Too movement going on where all of us guys are trying to open our minds, if we're good people, and learn about about relaxing and listening to charges and maybe adjusting our own behavior throughout the years as society's manners and enlightenment changes. And so with that very macro answer to what you're saying, yeah, teams aren't going to move on it right now. The NFL is being very conscious right now. It's about social political things, and they may not be able to trade him. And here's another thing, too, I was just going to add to that, is now in the NFL, because and in Major League Baseball, because of especially baseball, because of the steroid issue over the years and drama, they have a list of supplements that they allow and supplements that they don't, and they try to provide you with them so there's never a mistake. I guess maybe that should be the same with masseuses for years to come. Team provides the masseuse. Yeah. And you're on your own if you order one from the Pink House on the corner.
Okay, just in general on that. We will wind it down as you hear from Tomm Looney. John Harris also with me from Houston. Looney out in Los Angeles. He's Looney about it all and Looney about sports. Baseball starting. John referenced this. Looney, you've got it. I'm going to show it on the screen. As much as I begrudge that your Los Angeles Dodgers defeated my Tampa Bay Rays, there they are. They did win the World Championship in the pandemic version of 2020. I remember we talked to you last year as this was all cranking up. The Dodgers are the champs. Again, same question. It's renewed. It's a chance to repeat. It's going to be a longer season. But what about the optimism for the Dodgers, Tomm?
Well, the first thing I try to do I try to squint and see what kind of stuff you save on your desktop. If there's anything scandalous that you're saving on your desktop. See, you got rid of it. Okay. Dodgers won 71% of their games last year. If they had been a normal year, that would be 117 wins, TJ. And wow. They have basically almost the core of every member of the 2020 team. And then they add a Cy Young winner and Trevor Bauer, Corey Nebel. And they have a great prospect. I always call them suspects over the years, but Gavin Lux was an outstanding prospect that lived up to the hype. He has a clear path to being a regular player, a day-to-day player, which takes them to another level. So the Dodgers, incredibly, the Dodgers have been the best team in baseball for a long. They were the best team in baseball when they had Manny Ramirez. They just could never win a World Series. They finally have done that. Repeating is going to be tough because it's just tough in general. But it's certainly going to be the best team in Major League Baseball in the regular season, and that's in L.A. We're crossing our fingers for the postseason.
Well, here's what we're crossing our fingers for in Tampa Bay is that the Rays get to have another fun year. Tyler Glasnow of the Rays, we're showing that on the screen. The Rays begin their defense of the American League Championship. Again, it was a shortened season last year. The likelihood is, I'm not being Debbie Downer here, but the likelihood is they're not going to be able to keep up with the Yankees, the Red Sox, the big spenders for an entire 162-game schedule. We'll see, but it's still going to be fun. The Rays get underway with the Marlins. Makes total sense for Major League Baseball with all the freezing cold temperatures everywhere, all over big league baseball. Let's have the Rays and the Marlins, who are both in Florida, who both have indoor stadiums, play each other for the first series of the year. And you wonder why fans just shake their head.
It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. All the early games should be in warm weather cities.
Yes, or domes. Yep. And the Rays are playing the Marlins. John Harris, they play there at Minute Maid in a dome in Houston. Is there some optimism? I know the Cougars going on right now. Is there some optimism for the Astros start of the season real quick?
Well, I mentioned it earlier about what we've kind of been through in Houston, and it sort of started, and I'm surprised that Tomm didn't take a shot, and it probably would have been worthy about reading signals. And there's been no banging of trash cans in my house or any of that, but it really started back in January for us because it was sometime in January when that whole thing was uncovered about the trash can banging, and then we blew the lead to the Chiefs, and then the Rockets sort of imploded, and then COVID hits, and then all this goes on, and we go 4-12, and Harden's traded, Deshaun Watson out, and then all this legal stuff. I mean, it was oh my God, what is going on in this city? And of course, I know the Dodgers fans wanted to see the Astros so they could be there to boo them and all that kind of stuff. And, last year, TJ, your Rays almost blew a 3-0 lead in the ALCS to a team that really had no business being there, because that Astros team was not a great team last year, but they knew how to play big in big situations. And that's been kind of a hallmark for them. They had Jake Odorizzi as a pitcher, and we'll see what he's got after missing some time. That's going to be a key. Zach Greinke's got to be the guy, which I think they're fine with, but they've got some young pitchers. Framber Valdez is a guy to keep an eye on. I think people in Houston are very excited about the Astros because the Rockets lost, I think, 19 or 20 straight. The Texans are obviously going through what we're going through, and hopefully we're going to get out of this at some point. But the Astros have been the steady. Altuve's back. They were able to bring back Michael Brantley. They signed a pitcher in Jake Odorizzi, who was, up for Cy Young. They've got a lot of pieces still there. Yes, they did lose George Springer, and that did hurt. But with this starting in their ballpark in a full season, hopefully, fingers crossed, that they get it done, I think there's a lot of optimism about what the Astros can do. Now, are they with the Yankees? Are they with the Rays? Are they with the Red Sox? Or are they a tier below that? We'll find out, and hopefully their pitching will hold up. I just wish they'd get Verlander back and healthy because he gives them such a jolt. I just don't know if he can do that. But I know Houston last year was looking for Game 7, get that win against the Rays, and then battle the Dodgers and settle that whole trash can banging thing once and for all. I don't know if they were going to obviously they didn't beat the Rays, and they weren't going to beat the Dodgers at all. But they've got there's a lot of enthusiasm about this team going on a run again, and we'll see, because they've got some younger pieces, which they didn't have last year.
Fair enough. All right, we're going to leave it right there. And obviously here on the YouTube roundtable, I do have the Rays hat over the shoulder because, unfortunately, Mr. Harris, this, we came so close to coming back from 3-0 down. Doesn't matter. The Rays are the American League champs. We'll see how it goes. Of course, that doesn't matter for 2021. Now here we go with a new season. Everybody's undefeated, guys. Everybody's undefeated as the year begins for this year. Again, check out John Harris on Twitter. He is J Harris Football is how you find him. Find him through the Houston Texans as well, their radio broadcast, the Texans web coverage as well. John Harris, thank you in Houston. Let's see what the Cougars do with the Final Four, my friend.
Absolutely. Go Cougs. Appreciate being on, TJ. Great to see you again. And Tom, been a fan from afar, my friend.
Well, thank you, John. Nice to meet you.
Thomas Looney can be found at Looney on Fox because he's
Looney all
I'm
the time. Still Looney on Fox because I don't want to lose the blue check mark.
I'll promote one more time. I'll promote that Tom Looney can be found on Fox. Looney on Fox right there on Twitter. Find him on KBC TV. Oh, look as well. Find him with JT the Brick, and Tom Looney on podcast. Through Believe Podcasts and all the podcast platforms. And by the way, if you need John Harris, find him right here on social media at J Harris Football. Looney, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. The Fox Sports Radio alumni sticks together. Thank you for hanging with me on 3 Dog Thursday.